The shattered ridge of Camlann remembers the clash of iron and ambition. Beneath a bruised autumn sky, the king stands unbroken, his bronze spear grounded against the weight of a fractured realm. Behind him, veteran sentinels watch the tree line, guarding the quiet. As twilight bleeds across the muddy estuary, the warlord's armor yields to the heavy wool of a traveler. Along the waterline, master craftsmen secure polished tillers, while disciplined crews march toward waiting hulls. The tide turns, carrying a weary sovereign away. Dawn fractures through the morning mist as wooden hulls slip into the glassy channel. Gripping the brass railing, the king watches rhythmic oars dip into the silent water. A fleet of identical barges cuts through the calm currents, carrying the remnants of a fallen age toward distant. High noon burns across the vast Celtic expanse, where rolling swells mirror the relentless march of history. Mounted upon a restless steed, the sovereign scans the horizon, while a navigator consults carved wooden rings. The open sea stretches endlessly. The afternoon light softens as the fleet navigates the treacherous, shifting lanes of the western waters. Clutching a polished silver helm, the king observes the helmsman's steady command of the wooden wheel. Gentle waves lap against the hull, guiding the vessel toward a faint coastline breaking through. Late afternoon shadows stretch across the jagged limestone reefs as the fleet approaches the legendary shores. Leaning upon a wooden staff, the weary commander watches lookouts scan the white surf through brass lenses. A distant forest canopy emerges from the sea spray, promising sanctuary beyond. At high tide, the receding waters reveal the damp, ancient flats of the sacred island. Clutching a leather map case, the sovereign follows a seasoned guide across the tidal channels. Behind them, disciplined crews march toward the shore, stepping carefully over. Dusk settles over the towering yew forest, where dappled sunlight filters through centuries of moss-draped branches. Carrying an iron-bound satchel, the king walks beneath the watchful eyes of forest wardens. Through the dense canopy, distant temple spires pierce the twilight, beckoning a broken ruler toward ancient. Twilight deepens as the sovereign approaches the weathered stone archway of the sacred precinct. Gripping a heavy bronze door handle, he pauses before a high priestess holding a ceramic oil lamp. Evening shadows lengthen across the flagstones, marking the threshold between the mortal. Night falls completely, sealing the inner sanctum in flickering torchlight and quiet reverence. Draping a wool blanket over his shoulders, the king steps past two attendants preparing linen cloths. Volumetric rays pierce the darkness, illuminating a central stone basin where the waters of healing. Deep into the witching hours, the sovereign stands braced in the shallow, mineral-rich waters. Gripping a smooth wooden rail, he observes a lead healer, measuring remedies beside a ceramic bowl. Soft shadows dance across the carved stone wall. Midnight arrives with a heavy silence, broken only by the gentle rise of mist from the healing waters. Clutching a smooth river stone, the king watches two priests balance wooden chalices on either side. Distant stone carvings fade into the glow, framing a At the witching hour, swirling vapor fills the deep inner chamber as ancient alchemy meets celestial observation. Holding a polished obsidian mirror, the sovereign traces his reflection while a master practitioner monitors glass vials. A sudden crack in the ceiling admits a single beam of starlight, illuminating. Pre-dawn light filters through the high masonry, casting long, quiet shadows across the healing basin. Bracing against the stone edge with a linen towel, the king watches attendants prepare wooden stools and clean linens. The water's surface ripples gently, reflecting. Dawn breaks fully, flooding the dry stone floor with warm, golden illumination. Gripping a wooden walking staff, the sovereign steps past a senior healer offering a ceramic cup of restorative draughts. Sunlight streams through arched windows, washing over the temple. The morning sun climbs higher, casting crisp shadows across the temple courtyard's weathered flagstones. Carrying a bronze shield, the king marches past vigilant guards stationed at the arched gate. Behind them, disciplined figures move in quiet formation, preparing. Mid-morning breezes ripple across the calm Avalon waters as the fleet prepares to depart the sacred island. Gripping the polished brass railing, the king observes a seasoned captain steering the wooden tiller. Controlled rowing rhythms echo across the bay, carrying a renewed commander away from the sanctuary. High noon returns to the open expanse, where relentless waves mirror the unyielding pace of the journey. Mounted once more upon a restless steed, the sovereign drapes a heavy wool cloak against the salt wind. A navigator consults his carved astrolabe, charting a course. The afternoon stretches long over the gentle swells of the western sea, where distant coastlines fade into atmospheric haze. Clutching a polished helm, the king watches a lookout scan the horizon through brass lenses. A cluster of faint ships emerges on the waterline. Dusk settles once more upon a stone terrace, overlooking distant castle walls and a fading horizon. Carrying an iron-bound journal, the sovereign pauses as a chronicler records the final entries of a turning era. The lens draws near, leaving the legend suspended in time.